Imagine stepping into a room alive with the roar of celebration. The kind of night where the air hums with power and possibility. Crystal goblets clink like distant bells, and the scent of roasted meats and sweet incense hangs heavy. 1,000 voices rise in toasts to an empire that seems unbreakable. At the center of it all stands King Belshazzar, his crown catching the torchlight, his laughter booming like thunder over the Euphrates. He's the heir to one of history's greatest conquerors, Nebuchadnezzar, and tonight, he feels invincible. The world bends to his will, or so he thinks. But then something shifts. The flames flicker unnaturally. A hush creeps in from the edges, like a shadow swallowing the light. And there on the vast white plaster wall opposite the throne, a hand appears. Not a full figure, not an angel with wings or a messenger with a scroll. Just fingers, detached and deliberate, tracing letters in the air with an invisible stylus. The party grinds to a halt, faces pale, hearts pound. Those words glow faintly, unreadable at first, but their presence alone screams doom. It's as if the very foundations of the palace tremble. What could make a king, surrounded by his elite, tremble like a leaf? And more to the point, what if that same hand is tracing something on the walls of your own life right now, in the hidden places where you feel safest? That's the question that's gripped me for as long as I can remember this story. What if the writing on the wall isn't just ancient history, but a live message from God, showing up in our modern chaos to remind us that no empire, no life, lasts on pride alone? It's not about scaring you into submission. No, it's deeper. Personally, it forces us to look at those towers we've built, the career ladder we climb at all costs, the relationships we control with an iron grip, the dreams we hoard like treasures in a vault. Spiritually, it's God's patient nudge saying, "Hey, I've got something better than your fragile fortresses, something eternal, something that weighs more than gold." Because if we ignore it, we risk the crash. But if we lean in, we find mercy waiting in the mystery. This isn't judgment for judgment's sake. It's an invitation to trade our lightweight boasts for His unbreakable glory. And trust me, once you see it, you can't unsee it. We're in the year 539 BC, give or take, in a city that's the pinnacle of human achievement. Babylon isn't just a dot on the map. It's a masterpiece of arrogance wrapped in beauty. Those walls rise 300 feet high, like massive fingers of baked brick and bitumen clawing at the heavens, wide enough for chariots to race atop them. Inside, the hanging gardens cascade in terrace splendor, irrigated by slaves turning screws to lift water from the river below. Temples tower over it all, dedicated to gods who wrestled chaos into submission. Their creation epic tells of the god Marduk slaying the sea monster Tiamat, splitting her body to form the sky and earth, then crowning himself king. It's polytheism at its boldest, humanity taming the universe for leisure, for power, for permanence. No wonder Belshazzar felt untouchable. He ruled as co-regent with his father Nabonidus, stepson or grandson to the legendary Nebuchadnezzar, who'd sacked Jerusalem decades before. Yet scripture calls him the son of Nebuchadnezzar, not biologically precise, but spiritually spot on. He's the heir to a legacy of divine encounters ignored, a chain of revelations snapped like a frayed rope. You see, Nebuchadnezzar wasn't always the monster of history books. A dream of a tree chopped down led to 7 years of madness where the mighty king crawled on all fours, eating grass like an ox, his hair matted like eagle feathers, nails like claws. It's God's sovereign hand humbling him, teaching that the Most High rules the kingdom of men. When sanity returns, Nebuchadnezzar lifts his eyes to heaven and praises the eternal king. Pride exalted leads to fall. Humility in the dust leads to rise. Belshazzar knows this tale. It's family lore whispered in the halls. Yet he clings to the arrogance, blind to the covenant rupture unfolding. Blessings come for obedience, curses for forgetting the God who freed you from chains. Light ignored doesn't just dim. It casts longer shadows, amplifying the judgment to come. They forgot what he did, the wonders he showed them. And you, in the quiet after your own triumphs, what family wonders, graces passed down, breakthroughs you chalked up to luck, have you etched over with your own myth of self-made mastery, forgetting the God who tamed chaos not for conquest, but for covenant love that binds us close? Does that inherited mercy press on you now, heavy as those Babylonian walls, urging you to remember before the fingers start to move? Belshazzar hosts this extravaganza for 1,000 lords, wives, and concubines. Wine flows freely, loosening tongues and blurring lines between revelry and rebellion. Music swells from lyres and harps, the air electric with the thrill of excess. It's the high point of human indulgence, a declaration that Babylon's glory is self-sustained. But then the king, flushed with that false fire, issues the command that seals his fate. Bring the vessels, the gold and silver ones from the temple in Jerusalem, the ones my father took as plunder. We'll drink from them tonight. These aren't trinkets. They're the sacred utensils from Solomon's temple, symbols of the covenant. Vessels that once held manna from heaven, incense of prayer, the very presence of Yahweh among his people. To Belshazzar, they're trophies, props for his party. He fills them with Babylonian brew and lifts them in praise to idols of gold, silver, bronze, gods as lifeless as the metal they mimic. It's sacrilege breathing, a metaphysical mockery. The true God's weighty glory gets reduced to cocktail ware for polytheistic cheers. It's a taunt hurled at the stars. Your order, Yahweh. We rewrite it in wine, dilute it with our dominion. Picture the moment the cups are passed. Lips touch rims that once framed holy fire. Laughter rings hollow now, even to us reading across millennia. Wine from those sacred edges. But what if the cup you lift in your own hurried highs, cracked by vows you whispered in desperation and then buried, is spilling not vintage triumph, but the blood of the covenant, that binding life you swore to uphold? One casual sip of self-rule, and it's already tipping the unseen scales of your soul, weighing what you treasure against what endures. Don't you know that you yourself are God's temple, his spirit making home in your ordinary frame? In your fleeting feasts of fleeting winds or numbing escapes, are you plundering those inner holy places, chugging the noise of now over the quiet devotion that sustains? What's really filling your cup in this very hour, quenching the thirst that only eternity can slake? And just like that, without prelude, without mercy's warning shot, the hand materializes, fingers forming from the lamplight's edge, scrawling on the plaster with fierce intent. Those towering walls, Babylon's cosmic bulwark against the void, morph into Yahweh's humble blackboard. Metaphysics made manifest, eternal decree crashing into human brick and mortar. Then descends the silence from on high, divine and deafening. Strings snap mid-note. Laughter strangles in throats. The air thickens, suspended like breath before a sob. More harrowing than the clash of swords or the siege of armies, this void compels the soul to confront its own echo, revealing how earthly powers yield, crumple under the unyielding crush of Kavod. Belshazzar drains to white, thoughts fracturing like dropped pottery, knees buckling under the load. Human frailty laid bare, raw and weightless before the measure that spans stars. The Lord is enthroned in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. In your own held breath, when the daily clamor hushes unexpectedly, what hand is repurposing the walls of your heart? Not mere terror to paralyze, but a call to balance your every build, your every boast, against his vast, originating design. Are those fortifications you trust so fiercely ready for the rewrite? Or will they crack under the weight of what's real? Panic surges, but this time inward. Belshazzar summons his wise men, astrologers, enchanters, the Chaldeans' vaunted vanguard of knowledge. Yet all that vaunted lore crumbles into mute confusion. Not a syllable deciphers the script. Human knowledge, untethered from the fear of the Lord, cannot pierce divine judgment's veil. In desperation, the king recalls Daniel, the exiled Hebrew who embodies illuminated time itself, the one whose God-given gaze bridges beasts and empires. When your own enchanters falter, Those clever plans, expert opinions, distractions you deploy like shields. Does the deepening quiet summon your inner Daniel, that voice of forgotten faith? The scales of wisdom, once tipped toward human cleverness, now lean inexorably toward light unborrowed. Daniel strides into the banquet hall with the steady gait of a temporal envoy. He recalls Nebuchadnezzar's beastly humility, the madness that stripped a monarch to basics, only to restore him praising the Most High. Belshazzar dangles the bait, wealth beyond measure, scarlet robes of royalty, a golden chain of honor around the neck. Daniel refuses flat. Let your gifts be for another, I'll read the writing anyway. You cannot serve God and money. No divided heart riding two chariots into the night. Across the bridges of your own timeline, what gilded chains tempt the mirror of your choices? Daniel leans in, almost whispering, claim the weight of forever, unburdened by the drag of dross. O king, you knew all this, yet you did not humble your heart before God. It's not ignorance that indicts him, but willful defiance, a deliberate turning from known truth. Nebuchadnezzar's ark stands in stark contrast to Belshazzar's stasis, frozen in the feast's false warmth. Those very vessels he defiled had already weighed him on heaven's balances and found him wanting, light as chaff. A heart held high, like toasts raised in sacred ware, yet splitting under the press of ancient vows. God's kindness is meant to lead us to repentance, his patience not a license, but a ladder down from the ledge. What humblings have you known but shrugged aside? Hear the hinge of mercy creaking open. Turn now, fresh and full, before the balances lock eternal. The inscription decoded, those Aramaic syllables, MENE, TEKEL, PARSIN, unveiled like a veil torn in the temple. Its wordplay alive with poetry waits that whisper verdict. MENE, God has numbered your kingdom and brought it to an end. TEKEL, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. PARS, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. End numbered, lack laid bare, kingdom divided. Babylon's heavenly ledger, bankrupt by dawn. That very night Babylon falls, the Euphrates diverted, invaders slipping under the walls like ghosts in the gate. Pride's ramparts prove vain guards, the banquet's poor jeer swallowed in silence. It foreshadows the great harlot's feast aflame in end times judgment. This isn't mere history's dust. It's oracle alive, breathing warnings into our air. Civilizations wed wealth to forever. Leaders cloak might in invincibility. Cultures quaff the holy as common dregs. Empires ascend in pomp, revel in excess, fracture in the night. And sometimes without herald the hand appears. Its lines interrogate like a trusted friend. MENE, your epics, have they been enumerated in grace's generous count or squandered in self? TEKEL, how does your life shekel on Kavad's arm, wanting in the way or weighted full with mercy's measure? PARS, are you divided in distraction's pursuits, or partitioned for unity in him who mends? This hush claims you now, not verdict's slam but verse's gentle turn, arrogance to awe, judgment to joy's dawn. What motif will you inscribe? Wine of defiance spilling short, or vessel of vow brimming eternal? The hand that weighed once offers now to lift, to etch not end, but beginning anew. What if the next appearance of that hand isn't in warning, but in wonder, writing your name in letters of living light, not to condemn, but to commission, calling you into the eternal story where walls become windows to glory. The writing never truly stops.